And like a nurturing mother, the university is interested in your progress, and we ask you to stay in touch through our alumni network around the world. Should you choose the path of making a difference, you will find the university community a continuing source of encouragement, inspiration and support. I congratulate all of you on your achievement in obtaining your degree, and wherever life's journey takes you, your university wishes you well. I call on the Provost, Professor Margaret Shield, to introduce Dr. Timothy Lynch, who has kindly agreed to deliver this evening's occasional address.
Deputy Chancellor, graduates, colleagues, friends and family. This afternoon we're honoured to have as our guest speaker a highly regarded Melbourne academic and authority on American politics, Dr. Timothy Lynch. Now frequently sought by media as an expert commentator, Dr. Lynch completed his first degrees at the University of East Anglia and the University of London. Chosen as a Fulbright scholar, his interest in American politics took him to Boston College to complete his PhD. While completing his thesis called Turf War, the Clinton Administration at Northern Ireland, Dr. Lynch was also director of the Boston College Centre in Dublin, where he worked extensively on the US-sponsored Northern Ireland Transition Program. Subsequent academic posts included as a lecturer at the University of Leeds and senior lecturer and deputy director of the United States Presidency Centre at the University of London. Dr. Lynch has published extensively. His book After Bush, The Case for Continuing in American Foreign Policy, co-authored with Robert Singh, won the Richard Newstead Book Prize and became one of the biggest selling international security texts of 2008. Dr. Lynch came to Melbourne as a senior lecturer in American politics last year. He teaches popular electives within the Master of International Relations and an undergraduate subject on American politics. He is a frequent commentator for Sky News, ABC TV and radio, and internationally for the BBC, Al Jazeera, C-SPAN and National Public Radio. His editorials have appeared in The Age, The Guardian and The Wall Street Journal. We are indeed fortunate this evening to have such a speaker to reflect on his journey and the challenges that lie ahead for the new graduates. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Timothy Lynch.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm deeply humbled to be invited to make this address. I'd like to pay my respect to the Deputy Chancellor, to the Provost, the President, members of the Academic Board, and to graduands, mums and dads, sisters and brothers, aunts and uncles, friends and lovers. I intend to speak to you for no more than 10 minutes. And I'm aware that I'm one of the last remaining obstacles between you and that piece of paper, your diploma. And I'd like to argue four things in the few minutes that I have. The first is that success in life, the secrets of success in life, though they're not obvious, are better learned in a university than in many other places. Second, that you've been subjected to our teaching and supervision not as a punishment, but to make you better teachers of those that come after you. You may not recognize this now, but you will. 3, you are unique, just like everybody else. And fourth, that your arts degree will be an essential tool that you draw on, even as the memory of today's festivities fade in your photo albums. It is a tool you will draw on as you seek to make sense of the world in the years ahead. You may not think that now, but you will. First, universities do impart more real-world lessons than the real world is prepared to admit. Indeed, academia is the real world. The world outside these walls is far more surreal. When I got my PhD, my supervisor took me to his office and told me he was going to reveal, finally, the secrets of a successful academic career. Sincerity, he said. When you can fake that, you've got it made. Second, supervision counts. Let me tell you a story. The scene is a forest, woodland, fine sunny day, and a rabbit is sitting outside his burrow, tip-tapping on his PC. He doesn't use an Apple, he uses a PC. Along comes a fox on a walk, and the fox says, "What are you working on?" And the rabbit says, "My thesis." The fox says, "Wow, what is it about?" And the rabbit says, "Oh, I'm writing a thesis about how rabbits eat foxes." And the fox says, "That's ridiculous. Any fool knows that rabbits don't eat foxes." The rabbit says, "Come with me, and I'll show you." They both disappear into the rabbit's burrow. After a few minutes, the rabbit comes out gnawing on a fox bone and returns to his PC and continues to type. Soon a wolf comes along and stops to watch the hard-working rabbit. The wolf says, "What are you writing?" And the rabbit says, "I'm doing a thesis on how rabbits eat wolves." And the wolf says, "You don't expect me to believe such rubbish, do you?" And the rabbit says, "I do. Do you want to see why?" The rabbit and the wolf go into the burrow, and again the rabbit returns by himself, and after a few minutes goes back to his PC. Finally, a bear comes along and asks, "What are you doing?" And the rabbit says, "I'm doing a thesis on how rabbits eat bears." "Well, that's absurd," said the bear. "Come into my home and I'll show you." Inside the rabbit's burrow, in one corner, there is a pile of fox bones. In another corner, a pile of wolf bones. And on the other side of the room, a huge lion is belching and picking his teeth. What's the moral of this story? The moral: it doesn't matter what you choose for a thesis subject. It doesn't matter what you use for data. What does matter is who you have as a thesis supervisor. Common to most of us in gowns today is the experience of being supervised, of subjecting some of our most deeply held opinions and prejudices and predilections to the light of skeptical intellectual inquiry. You are all brave men and women for undergoing this process, a process that makes most people terrified. This doesn't make you supermen and wonder women. It does give you a capacity, I hope, that will endure for decades to come, the capacity to think and reflect, and to use that capacity to navigate the slings and arrows that life, I'm sorry to say, will throw at you. The activity of thinking is life. It's a very accurate maxim. It should be tattooed across more chests and along more arms. We learn from our supervisors, both good and imperfect, how to be better supervisors and managers and possibly leaders of people ourselves. The relationship is basic to all forms of human organization and all civilizations. Ones which try to subvert this natural order rarely do so for very long. Teachers teach, students learn, students become teachers, and teachers teach. A state run by students is a terrifying prospect, which is why we expose the best and the brightest of them, you lot, to good teaching and good supervision, not to tame you, but to make you better, in turn, teachers yourselves for those that come afterwards. 3. You are now, whether you like it or not, and I suspect you rather do like it, you are now part of a society of scholars, and you always will be. Your HD television can be repossessed, If you fall into debt, your marriage may end in divorce if you fall out of love, but the diploma you're about to get and what it represents will never leave you. It can never be taken away. What are the characteristics of this society that you're about to enter? Well, you're a member of this society if you are startled to meet people who neither read nor want to. You are a member of this society if you've ever brought a scholarly article to a bar. You're a member of this community if you've ever discussed your thesis at a sporting event. If you have spent more than $50 on photocopying while researching a single essay, you are in this scholars' society. If there is a public PC in the library that you consider yours, you are in that community. If you can tell the time of day by looking at the traffic flow in the library, you are a member of that community. If you regard Nurofen as a vitamin, if you have accepted guilt as an inherent feature of relaxation, you are in that community. If you find yourself having to explain to children that you are in year 17 or year 18 or year 20, if you frequently wonder how long you can live on pasta without getting scurvy, you are in this society of scholars. There are 3 top lies that graduate students tell us, their lecturers. First one, I'd be delighted to proofread your book, chapter, or article. Your latest article was so inspiring, Dr. Lynch. I just have one more book to read and then I'll start writing. Remember Confucius. It matters not how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. Fourth and finally, your degree is the most important survival tool you have. You could write this down. An arts degree does not guarantee you riches. I can attest to this. But it does make you expert in the plight and dilemmas of those that you have studied. And because it does this, it makes the vicissitudes of life more navigable. Why Hamlet's indecision? What caused the alienation of Ned Kelly? How does a people deal with the mass expropriation of its land? Who has the right to rule? Such questions you've been asking across the arts disciplines you've been studying. Your answers will make you robust in the face of crisis, personal and professional, conscious that others, greater than yourselves, have suffered more and overcame. An arts degree, let me editorialize, is the best cure for the narcissism of social media. It teaches you to think before you react, to empathize through understanding rather than sympathize through mass obligation. It will take you closer to a job that you love. Find that job, Confucius say, and you will never have to work a day in your life. In closing, consider the greatest play in the Norwegian language, and possibly the greatest play written since Shakespeare. In Henrik Ibsen's Hedda Gabler, 2 visions of the academic life are posited. Her husband, George Tesman's special subject, is the domestic industries of Brabant in the Middle Ages. Her lover, Eilert Lovborg, is the future. Hedda is trapped between them, unable to escape the deficiencies of each. One is too narrow, the other too broad, one too confining, the other one too liberating. Graduands, you now have the tools, the training, and the talent to do what Hedda could not, to recognize how far your special subject will advance concerns wider than your own narrow self-interest, how your learning here on this campus will help you shape the future. Congratulations and thank you.
On your behalf, ladies and gentlemen, I thank Dr. Lynch for his insightful and entertaining address. I call on Professor Ron Slocum, President of the Academic Board, to present the recipient of the 2000